Thank you, Kristen, and thank you for everyone for joining us for the second week in a row on customer loyalty. So we're going to pick up a little bit where we left off, but first I'm just going to kind of do the little maintenance things at the beginning. So obviously we're talking about customer loyalty today. So this is the second part. And as you may have noticed from last week, for those that attended, there's obviously more that could be said about this content, about the topics that I'm addressing. So this is scratching the surface about talking about customer loyalty. And then today, we're also going to talk about how that kind of impacts us in a business, what we can do to basically, build that customer loyalty and that partnership. So to get the show on the road, obviously, for those that don't know who I am, my name is Jencey Wilson. I've been in the industry for over 15 years. I started my own company in 2006. We have a very much a user-centric approach to training and process improvement. You have worked with probably myself. Some of you have probably worked with myself or some of my staff members, whether it be for training on an YMS, on the Easy suite of products, Runner, Route, and QC, as well as the Carbon Code products that are out there. Aside from that, we are going to kind of get started. So last week I left off with some food for thought at the end, and this was one of those pieces. So ultimately, out of a survey of 7,000 customers across the US, UK, and Australia, the key takeaway was that 64% cited shared values as a primary reason for brand loyalty. So shared values is when your customers find value or find something that you do as a company rewarding and fulfilling. Okay, so number one thing you want to think about is the fact that we deal in recycled widgets, right? We repurpose cars and parts and make vehicles get to be roadworthy again, and we get to go and repurpose or upcycle a lot of that product. A lot of us like to say we were green before green was a thing. And ultimately, we are one of the first industries ever, aside from farming, where we recycle our product, where we repurpose the products that we sell. And that makes a big difference for us. So where we're going to begin is we're going to talk about where that shared loyalty is and where it's going to go for that brand loyalty. So I happen to be a fan of musicals and theater and all that fun stuff. So at the end of the day, what I really want you guys to ask yourself is, what do you stand for? And so I've got a small clip from Hamilton, of all things, because love it. So here you go. It's about 10 seconds, and here we go.
Good luck with that. You're taking a stand. You spit, I'ma sit. We'll see where we land. The revolution's imminent. What do you stall for? If you stand for nothing, bird, what'll you fall for?
So again, that is very fitting and very true in the fact that what is it that you stand for? What is the thing that you put yourself and your company out there? And it's not just a piece of marketing. There are plenty of industries that will do charitable events, work with first responders like firefighters, doing the car donations, charity car, lots of things that we actually have in our industry. But there are also companies outside of our industry that we can take inspiration from. At the end of the day, what your company stands for doesn't have to be lofty or grandiose or kind of crazy, but you do have to plant your flag somewhere where that matters. Communicating your brand and the higher purpose outside of making money is the way to create a genuine connection with your customer. Ultimately, a lot of the research around this topic basically says that this is the only method to truly creating brand loyalty that sticks, where you are contributing to the society around you, and subsequently your customers and the people you interact with respond to that. So for examples, Tom's shoes, for those that don't know, they're like the canvas shoe. And one of the things that they do is that for every pair of shoes, they actually then donate one to a needy person. Right? If you're dealing in shoes and everyone needs shoes, think about all the people in the world that don't have shoes. So even if we're in an affluent country and a company that is donating one pair of shoes to every needy person based on the purchases of their sales, that is minuscule for the company compared to the goodwill that it creates, compared to getting the name recognition and the charitable endeavors that does. Timberland is all about their green standards, and part of their green standards is basically how their business are. You've probably heard on how Apple, when they do their product launches, on how their iPads, phones, computers can be majority of it recycled, where like 90 to 100% of the devices are fully recyclable. So, or repurposed, where the batteries can be reused. And again, we have very much similarities to these organizations. We just need to be able to put that in front of people to be able to say, we do this too. And you feel warm and fuzzy about that. I want you to feel warm and fuzzy about me. One group, which honestly, I've had personal interactions with them, with Zappos. But Zappos, for those, another shoe company, but they also do other stuff. And they have Zappos for Good. They actually had to break off their charitable contributions into their own organization. And that organization will do school sponsorships and different organizations, nonprofits, and they will partner up when they find something of value. And one of the things that Zappos does is, whether they're doing their charity or their shoes or anything else, they're all about satisfying the end customer's needs. So if you ever do some kind of contribution with Zappos or Zappos for Good, if by any chance your t-shirts or your shoes or whatever it is that you contribute to, and you're donating through them, and that money is getting passed on to a charity that you are sponsoring and you've partnered with them, one of the things you want to keep in mind is that if somebody got the wrong size shirt or something didn't work out, they take care of it, because in their world, no matter what service they're providing, they feel that they need to rectify the situation with the customer. I had a t-shirt for a nonprofit that I had ordered through Zappos for Good. It came in the wrong size. They sent me a new t-shirt. They did not ask for the old one back. They sent me a thank you note, a phone call, and a little follow-up message like a couple weeks later asking if I enjoyed my product. So the level of intensity there was pretty significant, because usually we get the blanket emails, how did it work out for you? Give us feedback. But they went above and beyond that call by having a real life person call me and talk to me. They sent a personalized note that wasn't printed on a printer. Somebody actually filled it out with my name and said, hey. And as a customer, no matter what industry you're interacting with, it feels good when people think of you as a person. That was something we talked about last week. When you have that personalization and you are valued, where you value those customers and you show that they are valued to you. So one of the things that we usually run into in any of our businesses is the fact that we're small and mighty, right? Most of us are small and mighty, and even the larger facilities are still technically small and mighty. So we want to think about the fact that customer service, that interaction with our customers, and some of that other stuff that we try and cultivate within our organizations derives by not only the limited budget in terms of costs, but time, and what kind of energies we can devote to that. So feelings are a huge part about this. How our customers feel in terms of providing that customer loyalty. And this is something that sometimes, again, we take for granted because we do that. At the end of the day, customer retention or to new customer acquisition, the thing that you must not mess up when doling out like little like wows and personalization is the fact that you don't want to just make it all happenstance or repetitive. You do want to try and make it individualized, and you do want to make it personal. And it's not just by using the person's name. Using the person's name is significantly helpful, and it definitely builds your brand and your rapport with them, but you're also trying to get them to feel good about something. So a couple of different examples in terms of how to get someone to feel good. So there was some research done by Norbert Schwartz, and basically one of the things he talked about was that simply giving somebody 10 cents, literally 10 cents, whether it be buying a cup of coffee, a donut, a purchase, rounding up, or giving them the change, or let's say you're short a handful of pennies or 35 cents, by simply contributing that small nominal fee to close the sale, you made the customer's day. They got to walk away with the product that they needed, and you stuck the sale. If something that is make or break and it's 50 cents or less, why wouldn't we just give it to the person? If it's the pennies on the tax, at the end of the day, if that's keeping the sale in motion versus saying you need to go to your car and get 50 cents so I can collect my tax, There is something to be said for that. That is also something to be said for our business and our management style and how we treat and regard our customers. Their purchases, their buying habits with us are strengthened by us making them feel good about dealing with us. So if somebody so let's say somebody bought something and it was $106.35 and they were short the $6.35. Yes, that's a tax. Yes, they are responsible for it. Yes, they should try and come up with it. However, if they only had $5 extra, well, cover the last $1.35. That $1.35 against a $100 sale, there's something to say on where the value is in that, right? It's a nominal fee to be able to say, I rounded up, I gave this person these little fees, and you could gear that toward your salespeople, where if they're cash customer, counter customer, where they're just shy, just a couple bucks, not a lot on your sale, maybe a percentage of that sale. And you say, hey, if the sale is a $50 sale and it's under $2, fine, do it. If it's a $100 sale, maybe I give them, a $5 to $10 leeway. Find a percentage that works for you that can be fluffed in your business, because we're always trying to get a good markup with our brokered parts. We're always trying to get a good price for the value of our stock that we've purchased from auction. But at the end of the day, that little nominal change makes a huge difference, where people walk away happier. They feel good about the transaction, no matter how expensive it is. You would be surprised that the research that this gentleman did basically said that 10 cents could have been on a couple $1,000s. And you said, hey, I'll get that. Now, in hindsight, you sit there and go, well, 10 cents on a couple $1,000s is not a big deal. But you still walk away because you weren't nickel and dimed. You still feel good. You still feel the warm and fuzzy about it, even if the logical side of you is like, oh, it was no big deal. It was only $1,000. And that also happens in our personal spending habits on some level. If you are spending on designer clothes and shoes and fun cars to drive, or you get a new toy at home or electronics, you kind of get into this different sense of where that value is and what you can contribute to, because you're spending more and you're like, that's not so bad. And then the reality is you could look back 5 years, 10 years, and you would be like, oh, hells no, I'm not spending that kind of cash. And so it's always good to have that reminder that someone's looking out for you and making you feel good. Sweet Green, this company is out of New York City. They have an interesting kind of background. So one of the things that they did was they sent some of their employees out, and it's kind of like that kindness begets kindness. You keep paying it forward. And what they would do is they would have their staff members, anyone that works for them, would have a stack of gift cards in their pockets. And as they would walk through town or wherever they would be, because it's New York City of all places, if they saw a parking ticket on someone's car, they would put a gift card next to the parking ticket. And what ended up happening is that this business, they had over a 300% year over year inception and growth. And so their revenues now are basically upwards of over $15 million. And part of it was that company outreach, right? They did their gift card slides and they had a gift card inside. So they had customer had the downer of the parking ticket, but because there was a gift card, they were like, ooh, what's this? Let me go check that out. Ooh, let me go use that. And simply that type of marketing was an easy way to market. It got people to spend money in their business, which means they potentially spend more, right? And then they subsequently kept thinking about them. And they're not thinking about the parking ticket they got. They're thinking about the gift card they got and what that means for them. So it turned that really crummy moment that maybe lasted 30 seconds now from lasting the rest of your afternoon into a very short-lived experience that's replaced by something more gratifying and an ample opportunity to grow business. There's another piece of research that talks about restaurant mints. Funny enough, there is, if your waiter comes to your table and asks you if you want mints, compared to when they bring the check with mints, or if they bring a check with mints, you haven't paid, but they come back around asking you for more mints, it has been shown that those three choices can dictate up to 30% increase of the person's tip. Meaning that if they ask you at the beginning, it's not going to make the tip that much different than what you plan to pay. If they brought the mints out with the receipt, you have a tendency, if you like the mint or candy that's there, to actually pay a little bit more. And if you are given mints with your receipt and they ask you for more before they pay, you are actually inclined to give them a larger percentage because you feel that they are attentive to your needs, and they're not necessarily asking you for your money, they're asking how they can help you. And it's all about that feeling, because making your customer feel that they made the right choice before, during, and after that purchase is half the battle of building that customer loyalty. So customer service skills plays right into this. And again, you tend to send your salespeople to sales classes. You've probably done them yourselves as potentially managers, or how you interact with people. So when it comes to customer service, one of the things we want to think about are the kinds of skills that we expect to see or want to see in our staff members. So let's talk about what these mean, because we all have our notions of what they should be doing versus what they are. And again, we touched on the 4 Ps in terms of what that means last week in the part 1. So we're just going to talk a little bit more about these skills. So patience, quality of service trumps speed. At the end of the day, customers would rather get a compliment about service than being rushed out the door. Okay, so again, it goes back to those restaurant mints that I talked about in that illustration from before. If people don't feel rushed, if people feel like they're being listened to, if people are engaged and a part of that, again, it changes how that person feels about your business, how that happens to be. I've been to plenty of yards where in the lobby area, there is things for them to read, to understand about our industry. I've also been to plenty of lobbies where the person sits there, has nothing to do, looks like they are in the 5th level of hell, and they are just wanting to get out of there. That is a great opportunity to build up on that patience with the customer, to be able to go and in between your countermen or counterwomen sales calls, that they interact with the person. What happened to your car? What brought you in here? I know you need your part. We're working on it, but talk to me about what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Change their day, change their interaction in your facility. You're trying to build your brand, build those thoughts around that, because as we talked the last time, people will talk positively about your business, but it's a fraction compared to the negative. So if that person's having the worst day and they're there and they're cranky, they're not going to necessarily remember your name unless it added to their poor day. But if they have a good interaction and they got their part and they walked out satisfied and you gave them a little bit more attention, it definitely changes the impression that they have of you, your business, and your quality of parts. Attentiveness, you got to listen carefully. Most customers don't exactly always spell out the issue for why they're buying a part from you or why they need the part. Sometimes you need to kind of suss it out, and you need to be able to figure out what is exactly that they're telling you. So that leads you in from attentiveness to clear communication skills. You want to be able to make important points to relate to the customer, maybe on installation, maybe on what they need to look out for, maybe for what had caused the problem in the first place, if you know that information. But your language being simple, clear, not leaving room for interpretation or doubt amongst the customer makes a big difference. Product knowledge. We're in an industry where product knowledge can be really beneficial, or it can also hinder. At the end of the day, sometimes they're just not familiar with what they're buying. Maybe they were sent by their spouse or their boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, grandma, grandpa, and said, hey, go pick this up. And sometimes if they get that look like, this is it? This is a thing. This is the thing that I'm getting. Well, if they don't have a freaking clue what a compressor is and you give it to them, maybe telling them on how you want this to rotate and this is what it should look like helps reassure them that they're picking up the right thing, that they are getting what's supposed to be there. And again, makes a difference in that communication. And again, product knowledge does not have to be extensive, because we have plenty of wonderful salespeople in this industry that don't know a thing about parts, but they know how to make a customer feel good, whether it be on the phone or at the counter. And that's the kind of nice thing about that, is developing those skills to be a part of that. You want to make sure that your language is not just simple and leaving no room for doubt, but you want to make sure that it's positive. We talked the other week on how we said smile when you're interacting on the phone. Put the smile in your language. Put the smile in your car call that you're having with someone. So you want to make sure that you have that because you want to get to resolution. You want to get to a solution. And again, salespeople are some of the greatest actors on the planet. They just don't always think of themselves that way. You know, the best customer service people not only have the way to do the schmooze, which is their own way of acting, but they put on that cheery persona. They deal with the customers that may be grumpy or indifferent or not really wanting to be there. And you turn it around where you get them to laugh and giggle and engage with you. And again, that is all a show. It doesn't mean you have to be their best friend, but salespeople can put on one hell of a show. They don't need to be demeaning or derogatory or cavalier or use generic language like buddy, hey, what can I do, blah, blah, blah. Use the person's name, ask them their name, find out what they need, find out what's going on. Time management. You still need to be concerned about effectively getting through customers and getting them what they want. But the trick is knowing when you are personally not the best fit for the customer and getting them to someone that is in a timely fashion. If you have a customer that has no patience, they're very curt, they're very dry, and you are frailing around trying to figure it out if you have it, if you don't have it, or if you're in the middle there, call in someone for help or get someone to kind of come over and give you a helping hand. If you are fairly experienced and you're good, well, then that curt person, you don't want to just throw them on hold because you don't want to deal with it. Kill them with kindness. Put on that acting. You know, kill them with the schmooze because that's what you need to do. You need to be able to read these people whenever possible to look, listen, and read for the cues about the customer's current mood, their patience in terms of dealing with you, and their overall personality. You know, there are plenty of times when, you know, it comes to things from a support standpoint. So my team does the training and support for Easy Suite and Carbon Code. And one of the things that happens is that one staff member could be interacting with a customer and they are super happy, friendly to them, vice versa, and they get to resolution. And then maybe I get an email or a phone call because maybe it took too long, or maybe neither party was clear enough about the situation. And I talk to the customer and then I talk to my staff member and we talk about what we could have done differently because maybe we missed some of the signs that were happening in the conversation. And so there are times to be able to use those moments as those growth experiences to be able to go and build on that. Because you're also trying to do the close, right? You want to close the customer, which means you're ending the conversation. You want them to feel assured. You want to make sure that their needs are met, that they're taken care of, that you've done your due diligence to get them what they need. And obviously your willingness to do that shows three important things. You care about getting it right. You're willing to keep going until you get it right. And the customer is the one that determines what is right. When you get a customer to the point of, yes, I'm all set, and they're genuinely all set, the conversation's over. You've done your due diligence. Woohoo! Hallelujah. And in theory, you've made the sale and some good money along the way. Ultimately, you want also to be a goal-oriented focus. You can help the business come up with what the employees can handle with the freedom of choice on their own to handle certain customers case by case. And you might even say that in a certain threshold, these priority situations need to have certain go-to problems, whether it be a discount, a coupon, pulling over a manager into the situation, dispelling the challenges that have occurred. But you are ultimately trying to give your sales staff or whoever's dealing with the situation skills to make good fundamental choices in the process, and as well as taking the liberty to incorporate you, if needed, into that process. And I knew I was going to run out. So I'm going to try and kick it up a notch, sorry, because there's some really great things to talk about in terms of building the brand loyalty. So 4 areas: loyalty systems, social media, marketing, special occasions, and customer service experiences. So at the end of the day, you can build a bunch of different systems. You can do points-based systems. You guys have probably all experienced this, whether it's like 5-star or ePoints or Spot or Blue or whatever it may be. They have dime a dozen names, but point systems are one of those things where every time somebody purchases with you regularly, they get points and then they get free things. Like you might have a movie theater where you get a free popcorn, or you eventually build up to like a free movie ticket. Well, you could do something very similar in your business, especially for your repeat regular customers or those retail cash customers that have that repetitiveness in your business, and you know who they are. If they're going to sign up, they're coming to you enough to try and earn points where they know that there's some reward at the end. Devise what things would work for you and your organization, and whether it's something small, detailing a car wash, again, it can be aligned with your charitable actions. It can be aligned with your company as a whole and what you do, because there's a lot of different salvage yards that are out there that have many different touch points in the public sector, and we try and promote our businesses to have that good graces. Make sure your website, your social media, and your email marketing are all tied together, or at least in sync, where the messages are not haphazardly. You want to make sure that those integrated systems basically give you those touch points of knowing who's repeating, who's coming back to your website, who's buying from your website, who's reading the emails, who's clicking on the emails, who's coming through that. You want to be able to reward for purchases. You want those customers that if they buy something, they can get a reward from you, whatever it may be. Again, a discount, coupon, something. You can then, of course, go and have them review your brand on social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. The simple notion of getting rewarded for those items is a big deal for a lot of customers, because they're like, ooh, I can get that. There's a reason why Chick-fil-A and all these other people put the fill out the survey and get a free sandwich, fill out a survey and have a chance to win a $500 gift card. It's not that you're going to get it, unless it's Chick-fil-A, because they do give sandwiches like a dime a dozen. But when it comes to some of those other feedback messages, it's all about what's in it for them. And you can have irony in a non-value point system. So you can end up, looking at goods and services for people. There are lots of people that spend an enormous amount of money on time accumulating, what's going on with somebody else just to beat somebody else in terms of top points or do this themselves or the competition. But you can do different classes of points and come up with fun names and silly things and ultimately have a digital or a paper card. You can do the coffee cards, except for they're a punch card where so many punches. If you have a hybrid yard and people come in for the pick and pull, you could do a punch card for so many visits. You waive the entrance fees for them and their friends for a day. So maybe they show up at the pick and pull and they show up and they come in there and they've got 5 of them. Altogether, they get in for free, but now you have 5 people in your pick and pull trying to pull parts. That's huge when we typically only charge like a $2 to $5 entrance fee anyway. So we have some good stuff there. 3 important steps for a loyalty system. Basically, you're looking to setting goals for the customers to achieve. Think about what kind of actions they can do for progresses. You don't want to just hand out points for no reason unless you do something like a head start. A head start is where, let's say you got a punch card. It doesn't matter what the punch card is for, but let's say you got a punch card and it's got 8 empty images. And it happens to, it has 10 images, 8 are empty and 2 are filled in. Okay, so imagine a card that has 10 spots. 2 already have punches on it or stamps on it or stickers or whatever you choose to do. And 8 of them are needing to go and do more. What happens with that situation is that you end up having a situation where you're giving them the chance to have that head start. They feel like they don't have to start at ground zero. They start being able to go through that. When it comes to the punch cards, to try and track the loyalty system, what you basically want to be able to do, is make sure that the card has some unique identifier, make sure that there's something in the back to be able to kind of show that, and make sure that people do it. More often than not, I used to have to keep all my random cards in my car to make sure that I took them places and to use them. But you can devise on whatever you wanted it to be centered around, right? It could be frequency of visits. It could be, how many parts and the value of the parts. If you bought over X dollars, you get this reward. Your reward systems are really open to anything that you feel fits your business. Maybe you do something like t-shirts or stickers, the car decals, anything there, calendars. You know, we do a lot of tchotchkes during the time of the holiday season, but we could do that as part of our loyalty system, where if you've bought X amount, I'm going to give you a t-shirt. If you happen to buy a motor and transmission in 30 days time, I'm going to give you whatever it may be, a dartboard with my logo on it. Who knows? But you could get crazy and change what you want it to be. Think of it in a fun, you kind of capacity. Pull your managers, pull your staff and say, hey, what would you like to see? What do you think would work? And don't discount ideas. And don't say, oh, my customers won't go for it, because guess what? They do in all sorts of stuff. They do it in all sorts of things that happen to exist. Hey guys, hold on one second. I am so sorry. It's snow day. Hold on.
Hey, why Jen jumped off. David Corey had a great question. What are some of the other yards using to track the loyalty system? So if you're doing anything in regards to that, if you want to drop it in that chat box, we can have kind of a quick open discussion why Jen had to hop off for a second.
I'm back and I'm sorry. It's snowing in Colorado lately and people freak out. So
hey Jen, while you were gone, David Corey had actually asked a question, what are other yards using to track the loyalty system? So I told everybody if they had comments on that to just drop it in the chat, or if you actually want to address that too at the end, that's fine too.
So if one of the things, so if you went to URG the past 2 years, there was actually a marketing group that did like the kiosks at your shops. Think about like the buttons when you go places that have the 4 colored buttons, the greens with the smiley faces and the red ones. Some of that's just trying to get feedback. So sometimes points happen to be like a tablet that's by your registers where the person punches in their phone number and then they acquire points where it gets to be tracked by you and whatever group you partner with. Sometimes they give key fobs to scan. Sometimes it ends up being that maybe you use like a shared spreadsheet or like a Google Doc where you put the person's name in a spreadsheet and you put in what it is that they are participating in. But then that tends to be a little bit more effort because you got to take more time to do that. However, some of the other platforms and even simple cards like the little business size cards with the punches, you could use a simple hole punch and just punch it when they come in. You really need to think about what works for your client base. And you want to think about what you are also comfortable in terms of rewarding someone. You know, we have a lot of inventive people in the industry that come up with some fun ideas, where it's, I remember a long time ago, Benny Cunningham for one of their U-Pools when they first opened it up, he basically had done a promotion where every car battery, when someone brought to the U-Pick in, they got $5 off their purchase because they turned in a battery, because batteries, when we recycle them, we were getting more for the battery on the pallets we were submitting than giving the person $5 for simply bringing a used battery in, right? So, we can think creatively, and I know I've used this for U-Picks because it's one of the easiest things with the traffic of customers. But even full service salvage yards can do the same thing. We have a lot of people that will rebuild cars. They have longer term projects. We have shops and garages that deal with this regularly, and we want more of our product to stick. So really, it's thinking about what that looks like, what kind of items you want to do. And again, if you need to, think about what you get during the holiday times for being a business, what you give to others for being in business, and then think about how you can brand it so that your name is out there consistently, whether it be hats, keychains, magnets, calendars, t-shirts, box of chocolates. Maybe somebody that is a body shop that you deal with and you have a loyalty system and they buy regularly. Maybe you do a pizza party for them because they spent so much, and that loyalty system, boom, 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 you order them pizza on like a Pizza Friday or something. You have an ample opportunity to really give that warm and fuzzy boost to the customers that are meaningful to you, and for the customers that are interested in saying, oh, I want to keep coming back here. I want to keep coming back here. So hopefully that helped a little bit. I know it was a bit vague, but you really have the world to pick from. We don't always need to think about it in terms of parts, because we can do lots of stuff and we can contribute in different ways. So social media, For 72% of customers in some recent research, basically gave them a way to help the brand stay more engaged with their brands, to check out what brands are doing, to post pictures. There are people that are posting things on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, saying, hey, I hired a new hire. Hey, so-and-so had the best sales month of their life. Like, hey, they did this in their personal life. You know, it's also interesting because the social media pieces also not only give the customers a chance to complain, but you get a chance to respond in a positive manner about the interaction and what you could do to help resolve it. Because people are going to say what they want to say about you online, whether it be Yelp or eBay or any of those things. But your interactions with those and potentially using your loyalty program to also incentivize those by sharing tweets and likes and communicating, you can build your brand, you can build the loyalty, you can get them to contribute. And when they happen to be car enthusiasts, like all those guys in those forums, if you are a participant in one of those forums, you know what I'm talking about. You go through layers and layers and layers of those forums to be able to go and see if they've got your answer, or just to chuckle, or to kind of see what people have done for a fix. You want those customers to potentially talk about their fix, their modifications in your platforms because you contributed the parts. They got them from you, and from your business. You want your name dropped. And if they worked out, even better. If they didn't, well, then was it on the customer? Was it something we could have done differently? And it's nice to be able to have that. Brand ambassadors. Anytime you can get your customers to work for you is definitely the way to go, because most people, they will take the advice of family and friends above all else, right? You know, mama says, go get this. Okay, mom said it was good. I'm going to go do it. Unless, of course, you have your toward a relationship with your folks. And then in that case, maybe you're not doing what mama says. But generally speaking, you look to your family and friends. Who do you recommend? What's the doctor you think you should go visit? I moved towns. Who do you know for a dentist? Who do you know for that? Where should I go buy a car? Where should I get parts? You know, you all have competition in your local areas or your states. And at the end of the day, friends are friends are a great way to build that brand. So those interactions, those customer service skills, they're putting your name out there, are all highly valuable. And social listening tools. You know, there are lots of little crawlers that will monitor your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, your social presence, and bring back stuff, whether it be negative or positive, where you could showcase a comment. You should showcase a review. You could say, hey, this was negative, but if we had to do it again, this is what we would have done, and this is how we would have taken care of you. And if you want that result, call me back, reach me out here. Sorry you had that interaction, but I'm rectifying it. Reach out to me. And you can always do points for referrals. So that loyalty point program, whatever you decide to use, because there's such a chunk out there, build on that. You know, get them to want more points, get them to interact, get them to be your marketing team. And that can be huge for getting that word of mouth going and building that brand and putting you in people's faces. So email marketing, you know, what's funny is the fact that lots of people are like, oh, I hate email. Oh, I hate this. I hate that, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? 95% of people, when we did the webinar last week, I showed on how we needed to be where our customers were. We needed to be in those channels of communication. And so people still use email despite not always liking it or getting too much of it, unless you're me and I blow out my inbox one day and I go, oops, which happens on occasion. But sometimes you just get so many newsletters and thank yous and other stuff. But sometimes when you get it from certain people, you're like, ooh, I need to look at that. I need to see that. You know, I had one customer who they're Canadian and they have Bell's up there, which is like a department store. And his wife is like, oh my God, I cannot delete these emails. I have to forward them to him to make sure that he knows, because he has to use his coupons. He has to go to the store. I can only get him to shop with this group and he has to have his coupons and he wants to go get it. It's hilarious because the man actually hates to shop. I know him too. They're a lovely couple, but has to have those coupons. He has to have them. It's like a need. And I think all of you probably have something that you can think of where that newsletter, that thank you, the surprise on your birthday, a reminder or an exclusive deal, sometimes you're like, ooh, I could use that. And you go and you look forward to it. You know, you can reach out to your customers where they are via that email and give them different kinds of promotions. and awards that way. You know, you can do engagement on an ongoing basis. Just don't repeat the 20 same posts, meaning that if you're saying, hey, this is the last day for such and such, if it's not really the last day for such and such, don't keep repeating yourself. Change it up. At the end of the day, the 80-20 rule applies for marketing, especially email marketing. With every 10 posts, 8 should be unique content and 2 should be promotional. If you are doing 10 promotional and 8 content, why do they need to come see you? Why are they getting your newsletters? Why are they on your website? You want to give them a need to be able to go to you. Amazon, funny enough, are masters of email marketing and personalization. Inside their app, inside their messages, inside everything that they do a really good job of catering to personalization for yourselves. They send you notices on things you've purchased, ask you if it's working out, encouraging you to get feedback. Sometimes the vendors give you feedback if they're from the marketplace. But there is a large chunk of stuff that happens there. But they also have all these wonderful product reviews. And if you've looked for something, they'll end up suggesting that. And they have enough content in each product, unless it's a marketplace product, where you can make good decisions and people are engaged. It's like jumping down the internet rabbit hole. So special occasions. And you get people to sign up for a loyalty program, or even if you're interacting with someone that is a customer of yours and they, hey, it's your birthday, get them, make a note in their customer records, whose birthday it is. Send them an email, send them a text and say, hey, buddy, you know, not buddy, but say, Johnny, hey, Johnny, it's your birthday today. I remembered because you told me about it last year. You know, haven't heard from you for a while. Hope things are going good. Hope you're having a good one. And if you need anything, let me know. You know, 75% of customers that get a birthday message think more highly of the customer or the business that sent it to them. If it ends up having some kind of incentive to use during that special time, that special month, that special week, it has a tendency to get them to be more engaged with your business. And if you actually give them a chance to, when they opt in for, let's say, a newsletter, if you do a newsletter or a marketing campaign or their email blasts, get the customers to provide their birthdays or special dates to them. And then you can leverage your loyalty program to say, hey, you signed up for our newsletter, or you signed up for XYZ to get mailings from us, and you gave us your birthday and your anniversary or whatever the world it is. And I'm happy to give you 100 bonus points, or I'm happy to reward you on your birthday. And as you build those points and you get those little benchmarks, which don't have to be monetary necessarily, they could be other kinds of rewards, you can then leverage that to encourage them to do it. This is the last little piece that I actually get to talk about in terms of, well, we're heading into the last couple pieces. So omnichannel. Customers want to be met on their terms. We talked about where we perceive customers to be and where they really are in the last webinar. I had a little chart that came from a bunch of market research from Salesforce. And at the end of the day, we're not meeting customers where they are. We get the top couple places. We get them face-to-face, we get them on the phone, and we get them email, and maybe the internet, and then we start to trail off compared to where the customer wants to be and where we are. They want it to be convenient. They want to be able to shop when they want, how they want, and of course, get the right message in the right channel for what they need to achieve. Best Buy was one of the best examples for this. They went and they changed how their store pickups and their deliveries happen, where you could buy in the store, from a catalog in the store, computer in the store, online, mobile app. No matter how the customer chooses to engage with Best Buy, they're going to get the same experience, the same customer satisfaction. They're going to still get everything that they want, whether it's a click to collect or a delivery, because they streamlined all these individual elements that they had into one massive channel system for them. But the customer sees it as multi-channel. If I want to be on my phone, I'm on my phone. If I want to be on the website, I'm on the website. If I want to go tour the store, great. So you need to be able to have the right messaging and the right channels. You want to drive these factors for our loyalty for our customers today, and you want to bring them in and help get them to work for you as a brand ambassador and to be loyal to your business. Just a few little stats that I happen to have, and again, this will be we'll be wrapping this up. 91% of customers will not do business with you a second time if you botch the first encounter. If they have a bad experience, they're sulking in your lobby, you hang up on them, they hang up on them, the phone drops, they're heated, you need to think about what that interaction is going to be like, right? 2 out of 3 customers, if they will walk out of the store if things suck, if they've got poor service or they feel it was subpar their expectation compared to what they thought it was going to be, they will just turn around and walk out. Just be like, okay, I'm not dealing with this. I'm going away. And again, 70% will walk away from a bad phone experience. If you've ever had the phone go click and it's not because they didn't want to talk to you, they just said, you know what, I don't need to deal with this right now. I'm going to move on to my next problem. So you have to keep in mind that you want to be engaged, you want to be attentive, you want to be personal, you want to give good information and have that person be present. And please keep in mind that for every customer who complains, nearly 26 remains silent. So if they have a bad experience, they may not be telling everyone that they had a bad experience, which is not bad, but you're not getting that good response. It takes, typically positive experiences give you a 7-person transmission versus a complaint, which gets passed multiple times, multiple channels, multiple avenues. So you definitely want to make sure that you're holding true to what you want to do as a business and what your brand stands for and how you want to build your brand and those customer interactions to keep that thriving part of your business. We all know that it takes more. On average, a loyal customer is worth up to 10 times as much as their first purchase. That first interaction, that building of the new customer, it takes so much more effort to build the new customers. It takes less to keep the existing. But at the end of the day, if we have good interactions, we build a good rapport, we have ways to meet customers where they need to be, they are worth so much more to our business in the long term than treating them poorly. And that's what brand loyalty is all about. Putting yourself out there, giving you an opportunity to help be in their shoes and for them to be engaged with you. So I know I went over. I apologize, everybody. So for those that only carved out the 30 minutes, I'm sorry. If you do have any questions, please take a moment to put them in the chat. I'll put my contact information up. I do appreciate you guys attending. If there are any questions, I'll try and answer them quickly. But I know most of you probably have to run.